Welcome to Life Unscripted Adulting Uncovered, the podcast for anyone out here doing their best to grow, heal, and not totally lose it in the process. I'm your host, Brennan, and if you ever felt like the only adult still figuring it out, don't worry, you're not alone. This is the place for you. Let's stop pretending and start talking.
Guys, welcome back to another episode. Have you ever looked at your life and thought to yourself, man, I should be further along than this. I should be further along than where I am right now. And maybe it's when you start to think about your career or your business or your relationships, or maybe it's a friendship, or maybe it's the relationship with your significant other, or maybe it's something to do with your finances, or just, I don't know, your life in general. You just feel like you're behind. Maybe you're behind your friends or behind where you thought you would be right now, or behind some imaginary timeline that you honestly didn't even sign up for. Maybe it's some social media guru that makes you feel behind, but it feels real to you and it bothers you. It eats up space in your head and it consumes your thoughts on a day in and day out basis that you're frustrated you're not where you need to be. And most people think that the reason that they're not where they want to be is because they don't have enough time, enough money, enough people, enough opportunity, but those are not the problem. Those are not actually the problem. The real reason that most people are stuck is because they're avoiding something. They're avoiding doing something, and it's generally from a place of fear. We're going to get into that in today's episode and talk about why we hold ourselves back and how you can do something today to live the life you want and be the most authentic version of yourself. Avoidance shows up in ways people, they don't even realize, they probably don't even consider it because it just becomes such a natural part of your day-to-day life. And maybe you say something like, well, I want a better relationship. I want a better friendship. I want a better partnership. I want a better marriage, or whatever it is. Let's take the relationship example. But if you say, I want a better relationship with so-and-so, and you avoid the hard conversations, you are not showing up for the relationship that you say that you want just by avoiding those hard conversations. Maybe you say you want to grow in your career, you want to grow in your business, but you avoid taking risks. You avoid putting yourself out there. You avoid going to the meetings, to the meetups, to the networking events, to knocking on doors, to making the phone calls, to sending the emails. Or not, if you work for someone else, maybe you're not applying for the roles that you say you want, or you're not stepping up to take on more. If you say you want to feel better mentally, or I want better mental health, but you avoid sitting with your thoughts. You avoid dealing with your past and your patterns, and you see these things holding you back in shades and in these phases of your life, but you just sit there and live with it. You don't do anything about it. You are avoiding it. And what do we do instead? We distract ourselves. We scroll, we watch TV, we do something that helps us detach. And if we talk about like in the relationship world, dating people that we know aren't right for us, if we say we want a relationship and we date people that aren't right for us, I guess I identify with this one. It's a big one for me because I spent, some of my life going on dates with women that I knew weren't right for me. And I knew this at a subconscious level, a deep level, deep down, but I wasn't able to figure it out till, 2 or 3 dates in, and sometimes longer. And it wasn't until my scanner got better, but I digress. The point here is that we distract ourselves in many ways from avoiding what we know is right. And we do this by staying busy and telling ourselves, well, now's not the right time. I'll do that when I feel better about it. I'll do that when this thing happens. I'll do that when whatever happens. But avoidance has a price. Every time you avoid something uncomfortable, you reinforce the version of yourself that stays stuck. And you don't realize when you constantly let yourself down, you build that to be the you that shows up to the world. And then it becomes the norm. And once it's the norm, it becomes far more difficult for you to change that habit or that pattern. If we look at this like a little bit deeper, a lot of us are not avoiding action. Some of us are holding on to a narrative or a story. Something like, well, I'm just not that confident, so I can't have that conversation with so-and-so. Or I'm not that confident, so I can't go out there and grow my business. Or I'm not that confident, so I can't apply for the job. Or in the dating example, I just picked the wrong people. I always pick the wrong people. Maybe it's the narrative you have for yourself is, I'm just bad with money. I just make bad decisions with money. Every time I get money, I spend it on something and I know it's not right and blah, 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 blah. or I'm just behind in life. Whatever it is, there's some sort of narrative or some sort of story that's on repeat in your head. And the more your brain's confirmation bias kicks in and looks for evidence to prove this belief right, the more you're going to stay stuck. And that's how people stay stuck for years. And it's not because they can't change, but because they've identified with a version of themselves that doesn't want to change. Because the fear of change is far greater than the action that it takes to make the change. Does that make sense? The fear of change is far greater than the action that it takes to make the change. See, growth, it's uncomfortable. And that's why some people don't want to do it and people avoid it. And it requires you to do things that feel unnatural at first. You know, it reminds me of how about 5 or 6 months ago, I started playing pickleball. I have no racket sports background. I have no experience playing racket sports. And when I first started, I was hitting the ball all over the place. It was going up and over and anywhere, and I could not get it to stay in the lines. And reflecting back, I look really silly. And so I got tired of playing so horribly, and I found a coach. I started going to lessons. And I went inside this place, and there was all these people playing pickleball, and they were so much better than me, and they were hitting the ball so fast, and they were so professional. They had all the right gear, and I was like, oh my God, these guys are really like next level with it. And, you know, I kept going and showing up to practice, and I kept looking silly in front of my coach and making these mechanical movements and not doing anything right, but I was comfortable being uncomfortable and looking silly because I wanted to change. And fast forward a few months later, I've improved. I'm still not that great at it, but I've improved so much. But the point here is that I was comfortable being uncomfortable in order for me to grow. And this starts to show up in very simple ways in our lives. And it starts to show up in really simple ways when you start to try and grow, right? Maybe you speak up when you normally would stay quiet. Maybe you say, you know what? I do want that role. I do want to take on this thing. I want to do more. And you speak up. Or maybe you walk away when you normally would hold on, when you normally used to fighting and being the person to dig down and double down to try and save that relationship. You say, you know what? I am worth more than this. I'm going to walk away and let this person figure it out, right? Or maybe you take action when you overthink something. I have someone in my family who I love tremendously. And if she hears this episode, she's going to know who I'm talking about. But she is a classic overthinker. And she had to do a remodel on her house, and she overthunk it till the end of time because she wanted everything to be perfect. And instead of just doing one small thing to start the work, she avoided it. And years went by. And then finally, about 4 or 5 months ago, she started doing it. And she just started the momentum and started calling people and started having work done and making decisions. And slowly but surely, she has done a fantastic job building this entire upstairs remodel, which seemed so overwhelming to her. And now they're almost done and it looks exceptional. It's so tastefully done. And, you know, it just goes to show how when we start to just slowly take action, even though we don't feel ready, it happens. You know, I was listening to the CEO of Filtrete say, you know how you learn to run a filter company? By running a filter company. You know how to learn to run a car wash? By buying a car wash and running a car wash. We learn these things by doing these things. You're never going to feel ready, and you're never going to be ready. And there's never going to be this right moment to like face your fears that are holding you back. And you're not going to wake up one day and the sun's going to hit you in the face and you're going to be like, today's the day I feel confident and healed and fully prepared to do whatever the fuck I need to do. It doesn't work like that. And if it does, call me because I want whatever you're drinking. Confidence comes after action. It was after I hit 1,000 balls that I felt more comfortable swinging that paddle. It was after I stepped up to the line 1,000 times that I felt more comfortable getting that serve in the line. Clarity comes after movement, and you take the step and figure it out. Believing in yourself, not before, but slowly, brick by brick is how we build these walls and this foundation. And at some point, you got to take ownership for your life. And it's not in a way where you blame yourself for everything and say, well, I fucked up here. And if I would have done this one thing, I fucked up. I held myself back. That's not what we need to hear. That's not the narrative that we need to have. You want to say something different. Like, you know what? if I want something different, I have to show up differently. If I want change, I have to be change. I have to be tired of being sick and tired. There's all these phrases, right? But that's it. If I think about some of my past choices, it wasn't until I asked myself a very profound question, and that was, why do I keep choosing this? Why do I keep showing up for this situation over and over again? And then I had to do the work. But awareness first, then the work, and then we get the change, right? But the point is, there's no shortcuts. There's no perfect timing. There's not a magical moment where everything just clicks and the heavens open up. It's just a decision that we make to take one small action. So look, if you are listening to this and you feel stuck, here's where I want you to start. Ask yourself a very, very simple question. What am I avoiding today? What am I avoiding right now? What am I avoiding in my life at this moment? Just find that one small thing and move towards it. Run towards it instead of running away from it. Confidence in something isn't built in one mighty big act. It's built in small daily choices, day in and day out, to build the life you want to live. Just one conversation, one decision, one phone call, one email, one action, one push-up, one day that I show up to the gym to make the change that I want to make for me. And you go and you do that thing. Because that one thing is usually the doorway to everything else. So look, you're probably not as stuck as you think you are. You're probably just one decision away from moving forward. Let's shift our perspective. I have this monumental task in front of me, but instead of saying it like that, let's change our perspective. I just need to make one decision, and then I could start doing that thing. I get to do that thing. I get to do this monumental task, and I just need to make one decision. And yeah, it may be uncomfortable, and it may feel a little weird because you haven't done it before, but staying where you are costs you a lot too. So look, I think I'm going to end there. My name is Brennan. This is Life Unscripted, Adulting Uncovered. You don't need to have everything figured out all the time. You don't need to know what to do every single second of every single day. You just need to be honest about what's holding you back and go do that thing. Go do that one thing, just one thing, and take care of yourself and keep showing up. And I will catch you on the next one.